Welcome to the Finding Purpose podcast. I'm Adam, and I'm truly grateful you're here. Before we get started, please give me about 30 seconds of your time. This podcast is a space for real conversations about growth, identity, resilience, and the moments that shape who we become. And beyond the conversations, I work closely with a small number of individuals through my private coaching experience called the Course Shift program. It's designed for people who are ready to break old patterns, gain clarity, and realign their lives with who they truly are, not just who they've been conditioned to be. Spots are intentionally limited, so if something in these conversations resonate with you, you can learn more and apply by visiting my website, www.adamvora.com. All right, let's get into today's conversation. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Finding Purpose podcast. I'm Adam, and I'm grateful you're here. Whether you're listening on Apple Podcasts or watching on the official YouTube channel of the Finding Purpose podcast, thank you for being part of this community. And if you haven't already, please like, subscribe, or leave a review and share. It truly helps the show grow. Today's guest is someone whose story is built on responsibility, creativity, and discipline from a very young age. Seth Stahlmann grew up in Sarasota, Florida, one of 7 kids in a family with limited means. He started working at just 12 years old, and by 14, just passed his state exam to take college classes while still in high school, balancing academics, work, and creative pursuits like opera singing, writing, theology, and teaching. At 18, he married his high school sweetheart, middle school sweetheart actually, and a year later, they welcomed their daughter, stepping fully into adulthood with purpose and drive. Today, Seth runs Tweeds in Rye, New York, helping high-achieving professionals and entrepreneurs look and feel their best through bespoke tailoring. He sources world-class fabrics and crafts garments tailored precisely to each client's fit and style. This conversation is about growing up early, honoring your craft, and building something meaningful through commitment and creativity. Welcome, man. How was that?
That was pretty good. I'm impressed. That was good.
Well, I think it kind of encompasses everything that you have accomplished, just 23 years old. And, I'm really grateful to have met you. You were one of my favorite people that I met this year, man, because I liked how you were just saying yes to everything. You wanted to immerse yourself into the community. You wanted to connect with people, and you were hungry for that connection. And I think that's embodies a lot of what I do and what I do through the podcast, what I do through events, and what I do through the platform that I'm building with this podcast. And I'm grateful for you to have come down here, man.
Yeah, well, I'm very grateful to be here. I feel like when you have that mindset and you're going out and you want to really embed yourself in the community, you just naturally click into place with other people who feel the same way. And so, likewise, one of my favorite people I've met this year, or really since I moved up here to New York, by far. So, Adam, thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, of course, man. I didn't know you were one of 7 children.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah. It's a big family.
Talk about that, because I only had my sister. Where did you rank age-wise? And what was it like living in a household like that?
Yeah. So I was the third. So I have 2 older siblings. And it's very interesting. For me, it just feels normal because that I grew up that way. My parents were having kids pretty quickly. So I don't really remember a time before my next little brother. I remember when my little sister after was born, and then I remember the subsequent siblings being born. But it's I don't know. There's it's we have different generations in one family. It's very interesting. My youngest sibling is still 8 years old, and she's full on Gen Alpha, totally different world that she's growing up in. So I still had VHS tapes.
Yeah.
It's weird, but it was fun.
What's the oldest?
The oldest is my older brother. He's just about 30. He'll be 30 soon.
Okay.
Yeah.
How many brothers? How many sisters?
3 and 3.
3 and 3.
Yeah.
So 4 and 3.
Yep. 4 boys, 3 girls all together. Mm-hmm.
So, and you're kind of smack dab in the middle, third child.
Just about, yeah.
Huh. So growing up in Sarasota, Florida, and growing up in a big family, what were some gifts of living that experience? What were some gifts of living that experience?
Yeah. So actually, before we even get to there, it's really funny because I wasn't born in Florida. I was born in New York.
Okay.
And one of the gifts of where I was in the family line was my mom, when I was little, was like all about having pets, right?
Mm.
So we had a big family and a lot of pets. And we moved from New York to Florida in a van. And it was me, 4 of my siblings at the time who were in existence. We had more in Florida. And then a dog, multiple cats, a lizard, 2 turtles, rabbits, hamsters. I mean, it was
Really?
We had a zoo. Yeah, a zoo in a van.
That's
so
wild.
one of the
It's
gifts.
like Stahlmann Ark.
Yes, exactly. It was like Noah's Ark. We had 2 and 2. Yeah, the gifts. I mean, I think every one of us learned patience in a very like palpable way. Like,
Yeah.
I even people who just have like 1 or 2 siblings, like there's so many more situations having so many siblings that like really test your patience. People skills, I know I have a big like community of family to fall back on, which is something that, I will never ever take for granted.
It's funny because like I've spoken to people who come from like large families like that, and oftentimes they get thrust into this almost caretaker role for their younger siblings, especially if they're one of the eldest. And balancing that out from a parental component, it's like you support your parents also when you get to a certain age. Was it like that for you?
Yeah, I mean, to an extent, I think we had a pretty good balance, or at least I was pretty balanced. Maybe some of my other siblings would feel like they were babysitting a little more than I was. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, that's kind of why I started working so young, was because, I felt some kind of sense of like wanting to add support to the family unit and add to the house.
You started working at 12. What was
Correct.
that first job?
So my first job ever, when I was 12, I started working at a creative design studio. So, websites, she did some animation, graphic design, anything that you could do in like the world of digital marketing on the content creation side. So I got an internship at 12, and then that ended up turning into months later my first full-time paying job.
Okay, so mind you, we're talking 11 years ago.
Yeah.
So that is what, 2014?
Yeah.
15, 2014, 2015.
Yep.
And that was in the early stages of like, not early stages, but digital marketing was really starting to take hold. It isn't the animal that it is now.
Yeah.
And what were some things that you learned early on that are tools that you use in the digital marketing space now through marketing Tweeds and doing what you do with your social media presence?
Yeah. I mean, I think the biggest thing I've really learned, and something that I tried to really keep as like a core element, I'll give you 2 because there's 2 really big ones. The first one is like my boss taught me, like in my first week at this job, there's 3 things that your work can be: fast, good, and cheap. And you can only pick 2. It can be fast and cheap, but it's not going to be good. It could be good and fast, but it's not going to be cheap. It could be good and cheap, but it's not going to be fast, right? So that was just a really interesting lesson to learn really young. And, it gives you a sense as both as a buyer and as like someone who is a purveyor of something. Like if you are doing a lot of fast, good work for cheap, you're underselling yourself, right? So I learned a lot about like how to properly value myself and my effort.
Yeah.
The other thing was I learned that like there's so many different things that go into digital marketing, as you know, and like the industry moves so fast, but like the heart of it and the thing that will never change is that people are not going to respond to like slop, essentially. Like it's very easy to put out slop, especially now, like with AI. The amount of AI slop I see like all over the internet is insane, and big companies too.
Mhm.
I saw a Progressive commercial, and it was like a first pass on Mid-Journey. It just looked awful, you know, like, and so like more important than like the fundamentals of design and like all these things is like, how does it make you feel intuitively? And if you don't like it, there's no sense putting money behind it because nobody else is going to like it.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's so true. And obviously, like now, like there's a lot of like deep fakes and there's a lot of just things that you really need to properly vet. And, you know, the authenticity component is really important now when it comes to not only connecting to clients, but connecting with anyone.
Yeah.
And people crave it, but they also often aren't the people who they are conveying themselves on social media once you actually sit down and talk to them. And that's something that I've experienced where it's kind of a rude awakening, which is why like I crave these conversations, which is why I like in-person events. But, you know, now, you know, with the digital marketing landscape, it just evolved so crazily. But I love those two pieces of advice that you learned early, like the fast, cheap, and good.
Yes.
You know, and what do you prioritize?
I mean, the three,
Just good.
Good. Yeah, for sure. Good is definitely the most important.
Yeah.
And if you look at my social media now, you'll see that, you know, that rings pretty true because I need to post more.
Yeah.
I don't post enough, but when I do post, it's something good.
What was your next job after that?
So I kind of bounced around in that space for a long time. Like the Sarasota startup space, like, where my first job was, it was almost like a WeWork, but it was like a local business.
Yeah.
So, you know, there was a lot of other offices in this co-work space, and I made a lot of connections there. And I just kind of worked for startups. And, you know, there were times where like the startups seemed to be dry and there would just be no opportunity for someone like me. So like I'd have a summer where I've got no work. And so I'd go and do like landscaping, or I'd go and work at like, I've had every job under the sun. I've worked at a car wash. I've worked doing landscaping. I worked at a restaurant. Like I'd kind of done all the crap, roofing, like, so it was always a treat when there was another opportunity to come back and use like my head skills instead of just my brawn to like make money, you know?
One of the things that I always talk about is like how the communities that we're in really can determine how successful you are. And obviously Sarasota is a huge opposite from what Rye, New York is, right? And how I want to highlight kind of the differences between the two communities when it comes to being able to grow professionally, being able to get exposure, being able to connect with people, the paces. Talk about that, like understanding the community, and then obviously coming back home. What did you like about like Sarasota, and what do you like more about Rye, if you do like Rye more?
Well, for one, I like Rye a lot more. This is where this is my home now. But I guess if I'm going to talk about Sarasota, you kind of have to talk about like pre-COVID Sarasota and post, because like growing up, when we first moved, I was 8 or 7 or 8, whatever, however old I was, 6, 7, 8. 2008, so I was 6. Sarasota was a completely different place. It was like a small artist colony. It had this very like small town artsy thing. You know, there were a lot of like pastures with cows and orange groves, and the downtown was just this quaint little thing that was like, had some nice restaurants. Nothing like it is now. Over the course of my time living there, and looking back, I think it was the plan all along and had already been in action, but I don't think anyone knew it at the time that like everything was about to change, right?
Yeah.
I learned this really stuck with me. I learned everywhere on the side of a major road where you see just like a field and random ass cows just hanging out in it, that's like any day is going to be turned into a neighborhood or buildings. Those plots of land are purchased by contractors, years in advance, and they
Yeah.
put cows on it for the tax benefit. So
Call it a farm and get the farms.
right,
The farm expense.
exactly, yep. So when I was a kid, it was kind of a magical place. Like,
Yeah.
you had the beaches, and there wasn't a lot of people on them. Like,
Yeah.
there was so many my family is very artistic. I had a lot of I was in a lot of art programs growing up. So Sarasota was a really fertile ground for that. And then over the years, like every single year, new buildings went up, new places came in, new businesses. And there was a lot of good to that, a lot of outside interests, people moving in. And then when COVID hit, it was just like the whole thing, like the table got flipped completely over.
Yeah.
Like all of a sudden, like I remember I wanted to buy a house, right? Because I was like 18 when COVID hit.
Yeah.
And the year before, I was looking at houses, and I was looking, like 250, 300 grand could get you a nice starter home. And then the next year, I was like, there's nothing, absolutely nothing on the market under, 500-600 grand. Rents went up 2-3 times, and it was just because so many people
From here.
Yeah, from here, from
The
Midwest, absolutely. Tons of people from the Midwest came in. California, even southern states, like people wanted to just get further down and it's just like the Wild West.
Yeah.
There people who are in the know and like who are light on their feet made the best of it, and were very successful in that. People who, were blindsided by all of that outside interest coming in were completely pushed out of the market.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of crazy how like communities can evolve, and where you once call your home, now it just looks completely different. Like I grew up in Upper Fairfield County in the Danbury area, and I grew up in a town called New Fairfield, and I remember New Fairfield being just this small community. Everyone knew each other. There were just the flagship businesses that you would go to on a daily or weekly. The people who ran them. And now it's very different because there is an influx of folks from the city who migrated outside of the city. The heavy Bronx presence in New Fairfield, which is fine. I mean, there were a lot of people from the Bronx who were there, but they moved there in like, the 90s and
Right.
Bought their houses
They're
in the late
naturalized.
80s, 90s. So at that point, I grew up with these people. Now, it's just so weird how different, like, COVID, but just in general, communities evolve. Obviously, like coming back here to the New York metro area, it's a different pace of life. It's a different standard of living, I think. And it's nonstop.
Yeah.
And there's so many people here.
Yes. Well, that's the thing that I really love is like, if you're in the Sarasota market, your market is Sarasota, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can go to Tampa. It's an hour drive away. You can go to St. Pete, 45 minutes. One thing I love about up here is like Rye is obviously a very great area. I love living there. I can call that home. But most of my time, like networking and getting out and meeting people, I'm all over Westchester. I'm up into Connecticut, Stamford, Greenwich. So it's just really like Rye itself is a small town, but if you just like draw like a 5-mile radius, like it's crazy how many people live here. And 10 miles, it's like, forget about it.
Yeah. No, I mean, it is. Obviously, like you came up here to open the flagship store for Tweeds. And I want to talk about like the beginning stages of working for this business.
Yeah.
And because you have found your stride in it and arguably your purpose in what you're doing. Let's dig into that journey. And then I have so many questions about what you do.
Cool. Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of interesting, man, because I never like could really figure out where I was gonna like land in terms of a career. I had a lot of different interests. For a period of time, I wanted to be an English professor, and then another period of time, I wanted to be a pastor, and even went to seminary for a year. And I think like the biggest thing that made me like, I had this backbone of entrepreneurship, and I always knew that like there was also a path for me there. And the biggest thing that like launched me headlong into this was having a kid. Like talk about finding purpose. Like
Yeah.
you have a kid and it's like, oh crap, like that's a really big responsibility.
Yeah.
And books won't buy diapers. As much as I love books, like they're not gonna buy diapers. So
yeah.
I ended up going like I left school and tried to make it work just on my skills in a corporate position, and just found like I really hated the corporate life. Like I wanted to be, I liked that like light on my feet and being able to, not know what every day is going to look like. And so, out of the blue, I called the owner of Tweeds.
Donald.
Yep, Donald Carlson. He and I, we just knew each other through the startup scene, and I got my wedding suit with him. So we stayed in touch and we were good friends, and I called him up and I was just like, hey man, I saw you're, opening a space in Tampa. At the time, that was our second store. I was like, do you need another guy? And he was like, yeah, who would you recommend? I was like, me, bro. Hire me. So we talked that night, got a coffee, and then the next day I put in my 2 weeks at my current job. And
What corporation was it?
so I was working for a realtor association.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And it was a fantastic opportunity. I got a lot of great connections from it.
Yeah.
But that 9 to 5, super steady, like exactly what every single day is going to look like.
Yeah.
Didn't work for me.
Yeah, dude, I get that.
Yeah. And living on a salary didn't work for me either. Like I like that if I want to push and make something really cool happen, there could be different and bigger upside to that. I don't like being in an environment that, disincentivizes you from going after big things.
Yeah, I mean, I love when someone's why is like big life milestones. Obviously, as I said in the intro, you married your middle school sweetheart, right?
Yeah.
What's her name? I'm sorry.
Samantha. Yeah.
You married your middle school sweetheart. That's something that's rare nowadays. And then you started a family young. So the need to tap into a career that can support your young family was really important. Talk about that journey though, because I think there's people who are way older than you right now in relationships who don't commit in the way that you have.
Yeah.
And frankly, I'm arguably one of them. I've been in a relationship for like 14 years. And, it's not even that the lack of commitment as much as for me, it's just kind of letting things play out because so much has happened over those 14 years where, we're on, this part of the journey now.
Yeah.
But what was it like just because you knew like, hey, I'm going to spend the rest of my life with you. Like, can you talk about that? Because I think that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a very uncommon relationship because I don't know anyone who like found their wife so young as I did. And when I talk about it, like people think I was like some kind of like weird like Mormon or cult or something like that. But no, we met in a totally secular environment. We both sang opera together at the Sarasota Opera House. And I think like even though I can't relate to a lot of my my friends who are dating, I can't relate to a lot of them.
Yeah.
My like one piece of advice for relationships is like, if you want to make it work, you can. There was one time in our relationship where for whatever reason, I got it in my head that I wanted to break up with her. So I did. I broke up with who's now my wife. Yeah. This is in like high school still. So, and it was just like the worst week of my life. I hated being away from her. I don't know what I was expecting. Like maybe I wanted to like have more freedom or whatever. Like, I was being childish. And so
was it like the grass is greener on the other side kind of situation?
Yeah. And it wasn't like there was another girl. I think I just kind of got to this point where I was like, well, we've been together since I was 13. Like maybe we should, whatever. That lasted 1 week, and I came crawling back, essentially.
Yeah.
And I remember, I had this conversation with her, and I was just like, look, I never want you to feel like you're on eggshells ever again. So I'm going to make you a promise. As long as you don't cheat on me, we will work out everything else. That was my deal breaker. I had one deal breaker, and I said, as long as that isn't broken, the only reason we would break up is if you break up with me.
Mm.
And she gave me her deal breaker, which was the same thing. And we just committed to that.
Yeah.
And that's it. If you want to make it work, you do.
I love that, man. And I think when you keep it simple like that, it's just valuable advice for anybody who's overanalyzing so many different things.
Mm-hmm.
And, obviously communication is really important,
Yeah.
when, especially with a child. How does your faith play a role in your marriage? Because I know you, had you were going to be a priest. You're going to be a pastor.
Yeah.
So you're obviously and I know you're very immersed within your church, and I'm sure you're immersed in your church in Florida.
Yeah.
Has faith always been something just from like your large family of 8 that you just have always carried with you and leaned into? And yeah, I love talking to people about their faith.
Yeah. So funny enough, no.
Really?
I was raised Christian, and was raised very much involved in the church, and drifted away from it. Like I was not really in touch in high school. Kind of came back when I wanted to be a pastor, and I went to seminary and I was going after it hard. And that was right around the same time that I got married, so I got married while I was still in seminary. And then shortly after getting married, I finished my first year of seminary, and I was like, this is all BS.
Really?
Yeah, really. And it was like, I don't need to, we can have a whole theology discussion, because we could get really into the nitty gritty. I love theology. That's one of my core interests. But the denomination I was in, I think, was very there were some things that I really could not see in the Bible and what I was reading.
Yeah.
And in my immature mind, I just looked at that and I was like, okay, so then it's all wrong, right?
Yeah.
And I completely left the church for years.
Mm-hmm.
And really, I only came back to faith a little over a year ago now. So it's interesting, man. I think a lot of people come to faith because they are looking for purpose, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or they're in a bad point in life or a rough spot, and they find comfort in faith.
Yeah.
And I think that's good. There's a goodness to that, right? Finding your way to faith through pain. I think that the really interesting thing about my faith journey is that I came to faith when everything was going amazing. Everything in my life was good. I was really getting a hang of my career. I was moving in the direction I wanted to. I was really solid in my marriage, and in being a father. I was just hitting my stride, and I think one night it just kind of hit me there's a truth to what I was raised with. And when that hit me, I just knew I had to figure out where I needed to be. And I'm finding it when there's no other reason to, other than I believe it's true, is big.
I mean, I also did becoming a father also play a role in going back to faith? Because, hey, having my daughter have some semblance of the church and faith, and did that have something to do with you coming back? Because you said roughly a year ago, that was close to the beginning of this new venture here in Rye. You guys have been open for
4 months.
You haven't been open for 4 months.
Just about 4 months, yeah. We opened in October.
You guys only opened up in October?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. For some reason, it feels like so much longer.
I know. It's because you keep seeing me everywhere.
Yeah. But was it did having a father have an impact on why you went back to your faith?
No, I mean, maybe some, maybe like in a small part. I'll put it this way. I'm really glad now that I'm raising her in the faith.
Yeah.
It wasn't really a consideration when I came back initially. I think this is where like, this is where like my understanding of faith, I think, really differs from a lot of other people. Is like, I'm not coming to faith like trying to figure out what it can do for me. Like, will it help me to raise my daughter with like morals and like strong moral values? Like, I'm not looking at like how will it make me feel better about myself? Like, I came to faith from a really different perspective, or maybe, a lot of people feel this way, and I don't know. I just came to it from the point of like, I believe this is true, and I need to figure out like how to get myself in line with it. Because if I'm not, then I'm not living in truth. Like, I can have all the success, I can have all of the, recognition and praise. If I'm not living in truth, then none of it matters.
Quick pause, give me about 25 seconds. If this conversation is resonating with you, it's probably not by accident. Beyond the podcast, I work closely with a small number of individuals through my private coaching experience called the Core Shift program. It's designed for people who are ready to break old patterns, gain clarity, and realign their lives with who they truly are, not just who they've been conditioned to be. Spots are intentionally limited. If this speaks to you, you can learn more and apply by visiting my website, www.adamvora.com. All right, let's jump back in. No, man, I love that. And, at the end of the day, like, my faith journey was very different. Like my spiritual journey, I'm more spiritual than faith.
Mm-hmm.
I was, we were talking about this before. Like, I was raised Jewish. My dad's like from India. He was Hindu. Like I've been around all these different religions to understand that, you go for different reasons. For me, it was somewhat of a desperation kind of bottom that I needed something to believe in, and it worked. And I think that's really all that matters. Like if it's working for you for the reason that you want it, then by all means lean into it. But fatherhood obviously, is something that's really important to who you are as a man.
Mm-hmm.
And you said like that was like a major turning point when it came to like understanding that you need to be grounded in a career that could support a family. How has fatherhood changed you as a person?
Yeah. Oh man, I don't know if anything's changed me quite as much as becoming a dad. Man, I mean, for one, it's how I ended up where I am now. Like I went full bore into entrepreneurship because I knew like I need to be a good provider, right?
Yeah.
And I can still chase after the things I'm passionate about and enjoy them, but like I don't need to be a pastor full time to enjoy theology and even to like teach theology to some extent, or like have some hobby in it, right? Like same thing with like literature. I don't need to be an English professor to figure out an outlet to enjoy and talk about literature.
Yeah.
What I do need is I need to be a good provider for my daughter, right? And I need to find a way to provide that I can be passionate about and that I can really enjoy. Because if I dread going into work every day, my daughter's gonna feel that, and it's gonna affect like how I am when I'm home, right?
Yeah.
So I needed to find something I love, something I'm passionate about, but something that would also give me an avenue to be a good provider. So
as a father now, when looking at your father, what are some things that you understand better now?
Yeah.
And what are some things that you maybe still don't understand?
Okay. What do I understand better? Well, my dad was an incredibly hard worker. And when I was a kid, for a lot of my childhood, he worked days and nights at the same time. So he'd work, whatever he could do in the day, handyman work, odd jobs, cleaning jobs, roofing. And then at night, he had a job at a printing press, right? And so for most of my childhood, like if I wanted to hang out with my dad, we would go to work together and I would go to work. So I would be, 7 years old up on a roof, helping my dad rip shingles. And, I think that hardworking spirit really, to me, like once I became a dad and I started, that's a huge amount of purpose, like to push really hard. And it gave me a new appreciation for what my dad actually did just to keep us afloat,
Mm.
And I can't think of something I don't understand.
Yeah.
I don't know. Wait,
I mean, you're learning
feel like I
every
have to think
day.
of, yeah, I learn something new every single day. Absolutely. Yeah, I don't know. Like,
No, that's fine, man. It's funny, man, because like I was thinking this when I was driving here today, and I was thinking about what you do and how you put people in to look the way that they want to.
mm-hmm.
How often do you meet clients in what you do? I'm kind of all over the place with this interview today because
I love
don't
it.
know why.
I love it.
There's
This
so
is
much
how
to like.
this is how my brain
I'm
works.
curious about it. But like I was thinking about how often do you talk to a client and realize how much image means to them when it comes to their purpose?
Yeah. Almost every time I'm working with somebody.
Yeah.
Like that's actually a huge part of like I think what has made me so successful here, but B, like it's just a big part of what we do. Like I need to understand what you need and why and what you are looking for, right? Like there's a big difference between the guy who works with really, really high-end clients and needs to match their level, and the guy who's like maybe a fitness influencer and he wants, he only has to wear a suit when he's outside of the gym at conferences or whatever, but he wants it to show off his work because that's his business card, is how fit he is, So every single time, and it's a huge part of what has made me and I think as a company us so successful, is that's really core. When you walk in, I want to know.
Yeah, well, it's funny because it is an industry where there is a level of vanity to it.
Yeah.
But knowing you as a human and knowing you as a person, there isn't really. You don't strike me as a vain person. You never have. Like you struck me as like you've always been very authentic toward me.
Yeah.
And and I see the way that you move, and you're very authentic in your connections with other people. But at the end of the day, it's like you're almost outfitting people from the outside in a sense. Does that make sense? Like
Yeah.
where I don't know, like you need to understand their why in order to be able to clothe them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I mean I've been there where it's like like you want to like look good, you want to be flashy, you want to like do these things, but I also understand that it's also just I can be in the nicest suit ever and really be miserable inside,
Absolutely. Yeah. And I work with all kinds,
Yeah.
I've definitely seen it. Like, I definitely have had clients who, have made a lot of money and have nothing else going for them. And they're just, they're not happy people.
Yeah.
And on the flip side, like I've met like tons of very, very wealthy people who have so much behind that. They're family men and they love their family and they've worked really hard to build their business to where, to where it is. And, they come to me like in part to enjoy some of the fruits of their labor. Right.
Yeah.
And to get something nice for themselves, treat themselves every now and again. And sometimes it's just as simple as like, look, in my business, this is what's important. So like, I'm just going to defer to you, make me look good so that this isn't a roadblock between me connecting with somebody else,
Yeah.
There's so many different like needs and different whys, like you put it.
Yeah.
And it's important for me to understand that.
Yeah. I mean, what are some common things that you, that most people don't understand about like getting into a suit and the image they're putting off with what suit they're wearing?
Yeah. Well, I think for one, like it's not very often you see people wearing a suit in like business period today, right? It's become a little bit more niche. And I think one of the biggest things is like when I walk into a room, right? If I'm going to work with somebody, right? I walk into the business, whatever it is. Say it's, I need a realtor. I walk into a real estate office. The guy who puts on the extra effort to wear a suit and to look sharp and, to be clean cut. Like those things unconsciously convey to people that you're going to take care of them as good as you're taking care of all the details in yourself. And that is, I mean, we say it all the time. Like if you look at the top, 5%, 1% in any industry, 99% of the time, they're going to be wearing suits.
Yeah.
Even construction. One of my best clients is a construction company owner. And, he goes on the job site, but even when he's going on the job site, he's wearing a sport coat,
Yeah.
And it's just because like, it's just innate. Like if you walk into a room, you're going to gravitate to the person who looks authoritative and who looks like they know what they're doing. And wearing a suit does subconsciously convey that. Now, if you're wearing a crappy suit, it's not a silver bullet. You got to be like, you got to wear something nice, and you got to look good, and you got to present yourself well.
Yeah. It's funny because I've worked roles where like I had to wear a suit and tie, or I had to wear a tie. A lot of them just kind of had me wearing them.
Yeah.
Like
just because
it wasn't a role that really needed it. And, like you said, like post-COVID, I feel like when everyone went from work from home and the demand to suit up because a lot of people are like sitting at their home behind a computer, how has that actually like affected business?
It's made it so much better.
Really?
I'm not going to lie. Yeah. No, the best thing about our business, we're a pretty young company. Like 2019 is when Tweeds started.
Yeah.
And obviously that's like right before COVID. COVID era, was pretty insane for everybody. But after like people started going back to work, there was a little bit of a lull, and then interest in suits like exploded on a niche level. Because I think in a world where everyone dresses so casually, it's so easy now to stand out from everybody else. Like I think about when I was still at the Realtor Association, I one of the things I did was I would go to like all of the events and record video and make posts about all the events that we were doing. And like, these were events where you'd have like a bunch of realtors in one room. And it was like everyone's dressing in like, sandals and shorts and like maybe a golf shirt. Like that's the Florida suit, right?
Yeah.
One guy walks in an actual suit or even just a sport coat, and he's the center of attention, It's so easy to stand out now. Whereas before, like I just rewatched the movie American Psycho. Have you seen that movie?
No.
It's a crazy movie. But like one of the big underlying themes is like the yuppie culture in the 90s, and like everyone looks the same and they're all wearing like the same suit. They all have the same haircut, the same glasses, the same business card. Now it's like you throw on a suit and you're the only one wearing it in the room. Like you stand out.
Yeah.
And there's so many like amazing styles now. Like I've got so many incredible, like I work with a lot of looms that just spin out all these cool fabrics and looks. So
what's your favorite like style of suit?
My favorite style?
What are you wearing right now?
No. I've been getting into I've been getting a lot into like drapier cuts. Like I feel like for the past 15 years, the really skin tight, slim fit suit has been like the dominant suit.
Yeah.
And now people are kind of realizing like it looks kind of bad. And if you like, build out the shape and structure again and have a little bit more room, like it leads to a better silhouette. So I've been getting a little bit more into that in terms of the cut. And in terms of the style, I've been really getting into like textures. Like I love like heavy, like textured cloths, like tweed, flannels, things like that, hop sacks. Like there's just so many different fabrics out there that have all of this like character. What I'm wearing today is very basic.
Yeah.
And it's good to have the basics. You got to have that like basic wardrobe built up.
It's funny because I you ever see that Instagram thing where it's like have a blue, a tan,
the
gray,
Steve Harvey,
a black, and what's the last color?
Yeah, it's like blue, gray, brown, tan, black. Yeah.
And you can make like 72 different outfits.
Yeah, it's kind of true.
Yeah.
I like a lot of people come to me and they just need like
The basics.
Yeah, they want that's what's called a capsule wardrobe, right? Like, it's a few different pieces and they're all going to mix and match pretty nicely. Although I would argue with the colors there, like I would not throw like a black jacket over tan pants. Like there's a line there, but yeah, many times people come up and they want to build a capsule wardrobe, and I'll recommend like 3-4 suits and a handful of shirts, and they're just like done.
Yeah.
But I think it doesn't have to be so boring. Like you don't have to have the same capsule wardrobe as everyone else.
Yeah.
You can have like a really cool like window pane, and then maybe a textured something, and then a Glen plaid, and they all work really nicely together.
Quick break to shout out our sponsor, Relive the Moments. Founded by John Lim, they're redefining how we share memories. From tap-to-play photo frames to interactive coasters, they turn ordinary objects into powerful, shareable experiences. Perfect for weddings, events, or milestone moments. Relive, reconnect, reimagine. Check them out at www.relivethemoments.com. Now back to the show. I got to sit down with you and come down to the store and like talk about it, because I don't wear suits as much, anymore. Like I'm actually like super casual when it comes to just my day to day. I go to events where sometimes I need suits.
Yeah.
But it's funny too, because I have a good friend, his name's Dan, and like wherever he goes, his brand is like a black t-shirt, jeans, and like a hat. You know what I mean? Well, and he wears that
can I pause right
everywhere.
Here?
Yeah.
All you got to do, like, I actually don't mind that at all. Like, I still dress pretty casually, like, I don't know, 65% of the time. But, like, I'll wear, like, jeans, which we make.
Yeah.
Usually I wear a button-up shirt, but sometimes I'll wear, like, a golf shirt or a tee. And if you throw a sport coat over that, like, it just elevates it. So it's such a easy, like, way to elevate an outfit. Like,
yeah.
I
don't think I've ever seen you in, like, a t-shirt. No, seriously, I really don't.
I don't know if I've worn a t-shirt since I moved to New York, but I every now and again I will, like, throw a sport coat over a shirt and jeans, and it can look really nice.
Do you wear them to bed? No, I'm just kidding. All right, so like you're here in Rye, you're now like kind of flanked with building the business out here in New York, way away from home base, where the headquarters, you're really headquartered in Florida. And obviously I that's how we were connected, I believe, through Mario. Like through the Mario Dorothy connection, we obviously like we hit it off, and talk about, and then we had a conversation with the magazine. Yeah. And talk about how the approach to marketing here is so different than down there. And you're essentially building this business here. Yeah. What are the contrasts? What are your favorite things? What are some setbacks you've had? Talk about that journey, because I think that's so important.
Yeah. So, and I don't want to offend you, because I know, like, I know you and I have had a lot of talks about like advertising. I am beginning to wonder if like it's not different at all, like marketing up here versus like Florida. The big thing is, one of our best advertising routes in Florida is billboards, right? So one of the biggest setbacks for me here was like, or I guess fears, was like, there's no billboards in Rye. Like Westchester barely has any billboards, especially like Rye and like, the surrounding towns. And
you know where billboards are now?
What?
You guys should get an ad on the trains. On the Metro North.
Well, I thought about doing that too. Yeah, because
that's where you get the billboards.
I was a little skeptical of the Metro North, but I was looking at some data on like how many people ride the Metro North on a daily basis, and it's pretty comparable to like a billboard on a highway.
All corporate people going into their jobs in New York.
Yeah, 100%.
Bored, so looking at their phones, looking up, seeing an ad.
Yeah, that might be my replacement for billboards. But the biggest thing is like brand recognition, right? Like, I feel like people, maybe like you'd have to be from a really different culture to respond drastically differently, but like anywhere across America, it's kind of the same. Like, people want to see, like, they want authenticity. They want to see what you have going on, find out if it's interesting, if it's actually something interesting and cool, and if you can show them like, yeah, this is just what I do, and I love it, and I think you would love it too. you know, that feeling is what gets people to come in and work with you, you know?
Yeah.
It's kind of the same everywhere.
Well, I also think that like a lot of times people do overthink marketing,
Yeah,
and
big
they
time.
also nowadays in the whole metrics geared phase of marketing, like marketing now is really more visibility, brand
Mhm.
visibility, storytelling,
Yeah.
and brand awareness. I look at it like a lot of the times I'll talk to people, particularly, with the magazine, with sponsorships, whatever, and they're like, what outcomes can you guarantee me? And that's a crazy question to ask,
It is, yeah.
because you're asking me to literally spoon feed you. I could guarantee that you'll be seen.
Yeah.
I can guarantee you that you'll be presented in front of an audience that you otherwise wouldn't be,
Yeah.
and you don't have to leave your whatever,
Mhm.
your office or your store or whatnot. But outside of that, it's really like, how far are you leading into the partnership also? And I think
Absolutely.
that's really important. And I'm not just talking about the magazine. I'm talking about, even like social media metrics. People like are very loyal to like social media marketing, but really it's just because you want to reach a broader audience, right?
Yeah.
Like, you could track some of the converted leads, right?
Sure.
But for the most part, that's what you're trying to achieve. That's what marketing is. I don't think there is any like guaranteed ROI with marketing,
It's true.
because if there was, then we'd all be doing it, right?
Yeah. Well, that's why everyone thought we were crazy when we started putting up billboards, because they were like, how do you track who's coming from the billboards and how many people are seeing it? And it's like, I mean, even if you're tracking those things on social media, it's like, you're right. Like, if you, it really just depends on how much you're leaning into it. Like,
Yeah.
and with the billboards, like, the benefit was that now everyone who commutes in our areas where we work, like, they know who we are.
Yeah.
And like, I remember when I first started, I had to explain to everybody who I met what Tweeds is. And then suddenly, like, I didn't have to anymore. Everyone
Yeah.
knew. And now coming up to New York, like, I guess that would be a big difference, is like, now it's like the early days again. Like, I had to explain what it is to most people. And it's kind of fun. It's like, it's a totally untouched ground, and it's all new territory, which, I like the challenge of.
I mean, I think also here you have to be like more when it comes to the competition being more close. I
Mhm.
mean, you got stores in Greenwich, you got stores
Yeah.
at the Westchester, in New York City is right there where someone can get a custom suit. And being wary of who your prime competitors are. Where in Sarasota, I mean, you guys had like the stores, throughout
Yeah.
the Gulf Coast, right?
Yeah.
And who were your real competitors down there other than big box department stores, like or
Well, in pretty much every place that we're in, like, I can name like 3 or 4 other boutique suit guys, but I don't think about my competition at all.
yeah,
Like, I don't really think about other suit stores as competition. Um, at the end of the day, people are going to work with whoever they feel they connect with the most, right? Whoever they feel gave them the best experience,
yeah.
and um,
I mean, I think that's so true.
yeah, 100%. If wherever you felt the best is where you're going to go.
Yeah,
And if anyone comes from the suit store down the road to me, for whatever reason, something didn't click with them there, and maybe it'll click with them with me.
yeah,
If someone walks out from where I am and they go to the suit store down the road, for whatever reason, we didn't click, or our whatever we're doing didn't sit well with them. And, maybe that's something I did wrong. Maybe it's just something with them. Who knows? But they're not my competition, because whoever was in my store went over to them.
yeah,
They're clearly doing something their own way, and it resonated with them.
yeah. I mean, dude, yeah, I think it really comes down to relationships. At the end of the
100%.
day, it's all relationships, and
That's what it's all
I try
about.
to, you know, convey that to people who, ask me for advice. People have to trust you.
Mm-hmm.
People have to know that you know your product,
Yeah.
and people also need to believe that you're going to solve a problem for them.
Yep.
And if you hit those 3 pillars and you build rapport, then more than likely you not only have one customer, but you have a new pipeline of business because they're going to speak highly of you.
Absolutely.
And I think it's really important that is what you do as an entrepreneur is focus on those three things.
Yeah.
And what are the relationships that are generating business for you and the ones who will talk highly of you? Because I feel like my best marketers are the people who know me.
Yeah,
and
100%.
The people who recommend me, the people who can send me people and connect me with them, and that's something that, was something that I wanted to do for you when we first met, where I was like, meet this guy, meet this guy, meet this guy, because I knew that if it could help you, like that's really all that matters, because that's how relationships are really born. I think there's a lot of people who are very transactional in their relationships, and maybe you'll get one sale, but you'll forever be, if you give that transactional energy to a client, then all right, like he will go somewhere else and buy a suit because it wasn't how he felt in the store,
right,
that drew him to it.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
100%. I want everyone who comes in, like, after someone has an experience getting a suit with me, like, I want to be their guy for life, and I want them to feel like I don't want to go anywhere else but my guy Seth. Like, I still have people from Tampa like texting me pictures of their outfits, like, "Hey, does this go well together?" Like, I just because they trust my expertise and they want to see like how I feel about it. So that is like core and paramount to me is the relationship building.
Yeah,
and you're right. For every person that you like really like, like for someone who has a great experience with you, they're gonna tell their friends, and it's a whole new pipeline that opens up for business. And all you have to do is be incredibly diligent, have a really, really high sense of excellence, and want to, genuinely serve people who are coming in and make them feel good and show them a great time.
I love that, man. I thought of a new question I want to ask every guest.
Okay.
Right? And
Am I the first one?
Right now, yeah.
All right, we'll test it out. Let's see.
Do you think you found your purpose or your purpose found you?
I think I found my purpose, and then it like, kicked me in the ass and told me like, totally redefined itself, Like I think like, my purpose really started with me finding the person I wanted to spend the rest of my life with. And along like that directly has led to where I am now, and all for the better. But like over the course of that, we just celebrated 10 years, like what that looks like has taken so many different turns. And, I never would have envisioned I'd be in New York in the year of our Lord 2026, that was like a pipe dream. So it's just, as much as I try to guide purpose guides me and bullies me a little bit, which is good.
Dude, I love that. I love that. What advice would you give to someone on that journey of finding purpose?
Don't be afraid of commitment. I've so many people in my age group and around my age group are afraid of committing to something. Like, and I think what it ends up doing is like you have all of these like really shallow experiences and feel like you're fulfilled because you've had many of them, but you never took any one of those experiences to a deeper place and actually learn something from it. So, like one of the things that my mom always taught me growing up was like, if there's something you're interested in, whether it's like learning an instrument or doing a sport or whatever, you can try it out. I'm going to make you do it for at least the full year, because I don't want you to, in 2 months when it's hard and inconvenient, decide that you don't want to do it. I want you to find out if you really like this. And I feel like that goes for a lot of things in life, relationships, career paths, whether you're starting your own business, how many serial entrepreneurs do you and I both know who spin up a new LLC every few months and then like drop it a few months later, and you just, you can never really get fully on board because they never commit to something.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid of commitment.
I love that, man. Dude, I'm super grateful that you made the trip here on a Wednesday. Amazing.
I'm grateful you invited me.
I'm excited for everything we have in store. When this drops, we'll be promoting our style and our fashion and style purpose panel.
Yep.
And I'm super excited for that, to work with you there and just kind of include you on the ride, and just like you've been in support since the day I met you, and I support everything that you do, and I'm grateful to have you here. If you can, please talk to this camera, tell them how they can connect with you, what you have coming up, and that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, first things first, what I have coming up is with my great friend Adam here. We're throwing together the Finding Purpose Fashion Panel. Is that what
it is? The Purpose Panels Fashion and Style Edition.
Boom. He's
Yeah.
got it. Very excited for that. And then to connect with me, Instagram, Seth with Tweeds. That's TWEEDS. You can always come to our storefront and see it for yourself. 80 Purchase Street in Rye, New York. Beautiful, beautiful area. And I want everyone to see the store. And then, of course, you can text or call me directly at 941-387-6776 if you want to get styled up and schedule your appointment.
Damn, dropping the digits on the podcast.
Bro, my digits are everywhere.
That's ballsy. I
everywhere.
Love it. Thank you so much, Seth.
Thank you, Adam.
Yeah, of course. Folks, I do want to thank you all for always listening, following, sharing, subscribing. Couple shout outs. I want to shout out Kai Visions, Claudio, Justin, the team at Kai Visions in Stanford. If you're looking to get content, you're looking to launch a podcast, you're looking to do anything in the AV field, let me know, and I can connect you directly with them. Addition, I want to thank our sponsor. You probably heard an ad read, Relive the Moments. They do tap technology for your business, for your events. I can connect you with them as well. John Lim is their CEO, and he's excellent. So feel free to reach out to me directly. I can connect you with either of them. A couple things I want to talk about also is we do have our style and fashion purpose panel coming up this month. Feel free to go to my website, www.adamvora.com/events, and you can see it there and all the upcoming purpose panels if you're looking to partner, build a panel, or support a panel. Thank you so much. I'm not going to leave you my phone number. Till next time. Thanks, guys. Before you go, I just want to say thank you for spending this time with me. If this conversation resonated, know that the work doesn't have to stop here. I work with a small number of individuals through my private coaching experience, the Core Shift program. And I also host intimate in-person events called the Purpose Panels, where these conversations come to life through community and connection. To learn more about coaching or upcoming events, visit www.adamvora.com. Until next time, stay intentional.